Uh, And we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Moshe Nave, and I'm an SAP community advocate. Today, we have Marc Huber, a product manager for SAP Builds. Marc, please take it away.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, also from my side. Today, I will give you a short introduction about our no-code tool, SAP Build Apps. With SAP Build Apps, you can easily create applications without writing any line of code. I will start with a short presentation, and afterwards I will directly jump into the system and show you the newest capabilities of SAP Build Apps. Let's start with a short disclaimer and directly jump to the agenda. So I will start explaining SAP Build on BTP. I will show you SAP Build Apps for application development and explain you the key capabilities of SAP Build Apps with all the front-end and back-end capabilities that we now offer. And at the end, I will also give you some insights how you can easily start creating your own applications, how you can enable your free tier account, and where you can find more additional information. But let's start, before we directly jump into the tool, why the low-code, no-code topic is important for us. What we see is that organizations fail to innovate at the speed the business really demands. The reason is that we are facing critical digitalization challenges. The first challenge that we see are volatile market conditions. So business requirements are constantly changing and evolving, leading to an insecure economic environment. I think still one of the best examples is the COVID pandemic. It increased the demand for digitalization and adapted business process very quickly. But on the other hand, another big challenge that we have at the moment are limited resources and lack of developers. So we are all under increasing pressure to deliver more with less, to help ensure resilience and future growth. Because of the limited developer resources, we have to look for ways to either increase the productivity of the current developers, or we have to find new developers within the organization that can create their own applications. And the last challenge that we see are the complex IT landscapes. So enterprises have to make sure that the applications and IT assets can be managed effectively and quickly delivered to the users, that they can really use the applications that we have created in the best way. With SAP BTP, the business technology platform, we have a foundation to help all organizations to get an intelligent, sustainable enterprise. The business technology platform is, let's say, the basis of everything. So in business technology platform, you can create applications, you can build business content faster, and you can run it as an enterprise-grade platform. The app development part is one part of the business technology platform where we will now have a closer look at. But it's not only the app development. SAP Build Apps is the new name for our whole low-code, no-code offering. It includes SAP Build Apps for application development, SAP Build Process Automation to automate processes, to create workflows. And last but not least, we have SAP Build Workzone to really deliver the content to the end users in a nice way, in a nice platform where you can access all the content. And of course, with in all these platforms, we have an integration that you, for example, create an application. With this application, you can trigger a process in SAP Build Process Automation, and you embed these applications in WorkZone as one application in there. And this is how you can integrate all together. But let's have a closer look at SAP Build Apps for application development in a no-code way. What we want to achieve is we really want to empower all kinds of users to create their own application. This also includes citizen developers, that they are really able to create their own apps, that they are not dependent on professional developers. But of course, also professional developers can use a no-code tool to create more applications in a faster time. How does SAP Build look like? SAP Build Apps combines the best of two worlds, I would say. It combines the ease of use of a typical no-code tool, but we also have the power of a cross-platform application. You just have to decide at the end what kind of applications you want to create. Do you want to create a web application or a native iOS or Android app? So there you have the complete flexibility, and you don't have to care about the complexity of an multi-platform application. So what you can also see in the screen, you can simply drag and drop the UI components into the screen. You can add business logic without writing any line of code. And of course, we can integrate data easily in the applications. So you can connect to third-party system via REST or data connections, or you can use BTP destinations to easily connect to an SAP system. What are the key capabilities of AppGyver, of SAP Build Apps? The old name for SAP Build Apps, you maybe know, was SAP AppGyver. And it's just the old tool with new functionalities included there. So in SAP Build Apps, we have extensive UI components, you have theming and layouting possibilities. The data modeling is also now very simplified. You can create your own backend capabilities, what I will also show very soon in my live demonstration. And of course, we have all the features of the BTP environment. So you can easily manage roles and access, but you can also include citizen and professional developers that they can work together on the same project to really have a development continuum. And of course, we have all the integrations to other SAP solutions, for example, to Business Application Studio, to Process Automation, and all the SAP ERP systems to consume the data in there. What are the key capabilities? Let's start from the beginning. The main entry point for our low-code, no-code development is the lobby. From the lobby, you can easily create your projects. And it doesn't matter if it's an SAP Build Apps project, Business Application Studio project, Process Automation project, all can be created from the lobby itself. And also this is the place where you can collaborate. You can easily share your projects with other users, that you can work in real time together on the same application. Let's move back one step further and have a look at the front-end part of SAP Build Apps. Here you can see the typical screens of an SAP Build Apps application. In the middle, you will always find a page that you are going to design, and you simply drag and drop the components into the middle of the screen and design the UI. On the right-hand side, you will always see property, styling, and layout possibilities to modify the application to your needs. And of course, in the front end, we also have the possibility to create logic visually. For example, if we are pressing a submit button, we want to show a toast message, we want to set a variable, open a new page. So all these functionalities can be directly drag and dropped as logic flows into the application. And of course, we can connect to any data source to visualize the data. If you don't have a data source and you need to have a data persistency layer, with SAP Build Apps, we also now have the possibility to create really full stack applications. You can create your own backend also in a no-code way. So you can easily drag and drop your data entity into your development, define the fields that you want to have, maybe create some views on top of the data entities where you maybe have some formulas to show only specific data. And you have a one-click deployment that you start the whole infrastructure, the database, the service automatically. So the users don't see any of the complexity behind it. And these deployed Visual Cloud Function entities can be directly used in the front end of SAP Build Apps. We also have a lot of information about the project history. You can revert changes if you don't like it. And you also have information about the changes you have done in your backend. If it will break the project, you will get some recommendation how you can fix it. This is all included in the backend capabilities of SAP Build Apps. Another new functionality, what we also have available in Visual Cloud Function, is to also create really function that runs in the backend. So maybe you would like to have some validation of records that should not be visible in the front end itself. You could define these also here as functions in the backend that can be easily called in the front end of the application. And you have different possibilities here and a nice UI to define these business logic. But I also will show one example in my live demo very soon. To connect to these entities, it is really simple. So you have different possibilities to access data. Of course, you can put an authentication on top of your application before it will access data if you want to have it. Therefore, we have the SAP BTP authentication. So it's a just one-click authentication of the whole app. And afterwards, the user has a single sign-on into the application and can access SAP system, for example, very easily. But we will also have the possibility to access the cloud functions, so the backend that we have created with SAP Build Apps directly with one click. You will see all the possible data entities, fields, and functions, and just directly use them in the system. But let's directly jump into the system, and then I will show you some key capabilities. I will start in the lobby. So this is the main entry point to create new applications. And let's just start creating a customer backend. So I will start with application backend and create a backend for my customers. Now I can start creating my first data entities. Maybe make my screen a little bit bigger, and let's directly create a customer entity and maybe add two fields, the last name and the first name of my customer. Just make a very easy example. And maybe let's also create directly a function to have some backend logic available. So I will click on create new function, and I'm going to create a function for create a customer. Now I have a starting point and an ending point, and I have to add some logic. In the starting point, I will add now some input parameters, so that in the front end we have to select a first name, the required field. Let's also add the last name. And now the logic, I will simply just create a record in the backend. So I will select create record, select my customer data entity, and now I have to map my two input fields to my data structure. So I will have the inputs for the last name and also for the first name. I will save it, and that's it. I have created now my first backend logic with two input parameters that will create a record in the backend itself. And now the last thing that I have to do is to start the database, the services, and all the steps. And it's just here in the deployment. I say review and deploy. There's my new customer entity. And now I'm going to deploy it. This will take some seconds because now the whole infrastructure is started. So it will set up the database and everything. So this will take some seconds, but in the meanwhile, we can start creating our front end. So I go back to the lobby itself and create my next project. This time, I'm going to create my front end of the application. So it's my customer front end, where I'm going to enter all the customer informations that are available. Let me just start my design time. Now it creates my first project in here. And what we will see now is the typical screen of an AppGyver app. In the middle of the screen, you will see the page that we are going to design. On the left-hand side, you see all the components that are available that you can easily drag and drop into the application. So for example, I would like to have two input fields. And on the right-hand side, I can decide, set all the properties and styling, layout, functionality. So we are just going to change some information here. We change the headline. We maybe remove this text field. And for my backend, I need my first name and also a last name. And I'm also going to define two app variables that I can easily use them later. So I switch the screen here now from view to variables and simply add two variables that I'm going to use and bind to my application. So again, the first name and the last name. And now I'm going to bind them here as a value that I will type in. It's the first name, and the second one is the last name. And these two values I will use to call my backend service that I've created. So maybe just let's add also a button to submit the values. Submit. And now we would have to create some logic, but before I have to check if the backend is already available. Yes, it's deployed. We can go back to the entity. There's my customer entity. And we see at the moment, there's no record available. Maybe I just include a first record. So we have a test value in there. And now I simply will bind this Visual Cloud function to my front-end application. And it's really easy. I just go to the data tab in here, add the integration, select Visual Cloud Functions, and there we can see my customer backend that I just created. It's just one data entity and also two fields, so very simple. I can enable it in here, browse the data, and as you can see, we can directly see the test value that I've created. Now I also going to enable the create customer function. That's it. And now we can start using it. Maybe I also include a list where we show the results of the data. Therefore, I'm just going to add a data variable that visualizes the data, the customer, and now we can bind it to the list in here. So I will repeat it with every value from my data variable, and I will just set the labels to the first and the last name. First name, last name. Save it. That's it. The last step, I have to define some logic for my submit button. So I would like to submit the values from the input fields to the backend directly. So I'm going to the logic for the submit button. And here we will find a new component, which is called execute cloud. I just simply connect them. And you see it already pre-selects my create customer cloud function. And I will simply map them to my two app variables, the last name and the first name. And that's already it. So we have created some logic that we can enter first name, last name, press the submit button, and then it will post it to our backend. Maybe I just include one toast message that it was successful. Then we also get a message on the screen. And now let's jump into the preview and see the results, what we have created in 5 minutes. So I've created a backend, some service on top of it, a function in the backend, and also the UI that it's connected to it. So there we see my customer front end. We see it loads the first value that I've entered. It's a test value. Now let's add another customer. Submitted. It was successful. And soon it should be updated my list here. And there's the new record. So as you can see, it's now all connected. And we are using all the functionalities in a very simplified use case here. Of course, you can have more complex information like data validation if you want to redeem a code or something, and you don't want to make this logic publicly available to the end users. You could hide them in the functions part of Visual Cloud Functions. Okay, let's jump back to my presentation. So what are the key takeaways and what's next? So of course, we are investing a lot into the whole SAP Build, low-code, no-code portfolio. And what we want to have is really a very deep integration with all the SAP solutions. So you will see more and more functionalities that SAP Build Apps and process automation will be integrated more and more together, that it's easier to trigger processes. But of course, it's also easier to access other SAP systems and use them in our applications. So there will be a lot of things happening in the future. And also we want to make the whole user experience easier, that also citizen developers can create their own applications really from end to end in the application. What is also planned for the future, that we will offer predefined contents, that you find a template application, that you can have already a basis to start your development, and you don't have to start from scratch. So there you will also see some content in a marketplace, also for the area of app development, that we can provide you with a quick start to create your first applications without spending any time. If you want to find more information about SAP Build, feel free to join our brand new builders community. just go to sap.com/builders or scan the QR code or follow us on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn to get the newest information. And if you already want to start with SAP Build Apps directly, we now also offer a free tier model. The only requirement is that you have a free BTP account available and you already have the identity authentication service set up. If you have done this already, it's really simple. I just recorded a very short video to show you that we now also have a booster available where you can easily subscribe to our SAP App service. So you can just search on your BTP account for Build Apps. And here you just have to press the start button. It will check the prerequisites. In the next step, you have to select if you want to enable it on an already created account or you want to create a new account. And you just select the sub-account then in here and add the users to your project if you want to use them. And this is what I said. You need a pre-configured IES account to have all the access rights and everything enabled there. And afterwards, you can just finish the booster and it will set up the whole SAP Build Apps for you. And afterwards, you can start jumping to the lobby, what I showed in my live demo at the first step. With that, I'm at the end of my presentation and would like to answer all of your questions if there are any available.
So I saw one question in the chat, where to practice these SAP Build demos?
Yep, that's a good question. We have also in our community page a link, but you can also directly access learningsap.com. And there we have a low-code, no-code learning journey where you create two first SAP Build Apps projects. One is a little mobile application to have a barcode scanner. The other one is an integration to an SAP system to visualize data. So this is a very good starting point to create your first projects with SAP Build Apps.
Thank you. Let's give people another minute to post questions in the chat if there are any. I see that there aren't, so I would like to thank you for a great SAP community call. The recording of the call will be shortly available after this session and also the presentation. So thank you all for joining today and have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.